So we're here on Last Vigil, and I have a weird way of playing this map. It's not a good way of playing this map, but it seems to work against lower leveled players, at least all the way up to 900. Maybe high 900s, depending on how they play this map. But anywhere past that, it will fail. And you will see a game later where I learned that the hard way. But this is a tier 3 match, and this guy might look a little bit familiar to you. Yes, this is Loaded Mag, once again, and he is playing as Lash. Lash is fun to play with. Out of all of the Black Hole, like the original Black Hole game, Lash is probably my favorite one. And when I mean Black Hole game, I mean the quartet. I'm not counting Sturm in there, and I'm not counting the Bolt Guard as Black Hole. No. They tried to kill Hawk and Lash. No, I am not counting them. I don't even know what happened to Adder and Flak. And Sturm, he's already gone. I wish he made a comeback, and you got to play as him against Von Bolt. That would have been hilarious. But so the way that Lash works is she doesn't have like a day-to-day normally, but for every terrain star her units get, her firepower on that particular unit will go up by 10%. So if she is on the plains, she gets a 10%. If she is on a city, she gets 30%. If she is on mountains or HQs, that's 40, and forest is 20. And depending on the map, Lash can be very, very strong. On this map, I wouldn't say this is a map for Lash. I wouldn't. So, her power soak. Terrain tactics, very expensive for what it actually does. Her troops get stir movement for 1 day. So recons can suddenly go all over the place. They get their full 8 movement, no matter how many forests and plains you go through. Tanks and artillery, they get their full 6 and 5 movement. There's nothing that can stop Lash, except for snow. Just like Sturm. And Prime Tactics is exactly as Terrain Tactics, except every terrain star, well, every single bit of defense that she gets is doubled. She gets double terrain stars. And depending on the health of the troops, depends on how useful that super is. So a full health tank suddenly on plains suddenly becomes a combat level tank. And I think that's something that a lot of people will overlook. And that is purely for Advanced Wars by Web. In Advanced Wars 2, she'll get the 30% defense, but only 20% firepower. And Advanced Wars by Web, she gets the 10% firepower with the defense. So you get the 20% firepower for having 2 terrain stars, along with the 20% defense, and you get the 10-10. And this is without comm towers, too. With a comm tower, a tank on the plains will have 40% firepower. And that is something that I think is overlooked a little bit, because that is what Jake gets when he is on plains. Is 130% firepower. So, but that's just plains. Take it to a forest, 40% firepower, 40% defense. Take it to a city, 60% firepower, 60% defense. Take it to HQ or mountains, 80, 80. And that is without the 10-10. So, on paper, like, a lot of people think that Prime Tactics is overvalued. And it depends on what unit it is. If your unit is fully healthy, Prime Tactics is amazing for what it does. If it's a 5 HP unit, Prime Tactics isn't going to help it. It'll get the full defense of what it normally would. Like, the planes will give a full defense star at that point. Like, anything on states will have 30 defense. So there is that. Like, 5. So anything 5 and above will benefit from it, but anything below that, no. It's not going to benefit very much. And there is, like, a genuine threat from Lash whenever all of her units become at least combat level if they're on plane, at least the planes. Lash won't get anything aside from the 10-10 if she's on roads, bridges, or shoals. So she won't get anything from that, but anything else, don't mess with her. And because of that nature, she is a defensive CO. Jess, on the other hand, is offensive. Okay, I can't say that she's offensive. She can, but she's a CO that can go either way. She is a CO that is built to your playstyle. And that is what I like so much about Jess. Is that you could be aggressive with her, but you can be just as defensive if you want. So, let's go ahead and get started on this, shall we? Got our infantry here. And you do want to try to get your properties like as soon as possible. And I do want to comment about this because this infantry should have gone up here. However, I do have another match in the works that is on this very map. So I'm going to hold off on talking about that type of stuff and just talk about like the matchup itself between me and Mag. So, and already Mag starts out with a tank. And you know, and I have been harping about this since the very first game. Also, okay, I'll talk about that here in a second, but I've been harping about that like since the very first video. Never buy a tank unless you can follow it up with another tank. And over here on the right, you might have noticed that I went and interrupted this capture. Even though, so the way that this map is worked out is there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I want to say 4 to 8 contested cities. So the 4 within the middle, like this is mainly going to be these 2 are mainly going to be the purple forces, while these 2 are mainly going to be teal forces. And the same thing could be said about these 2 as well, because they're closer to HQ. However, but those are the more contested cities that you're going to get. Mainly it's going to be these 2. So, and already Mag built a oh, what the heck are mechs called? Mechs! I said what they were called and didn't realize it until 2 seconds later. What is wrong with me? Yeah, so he built a mech, and I'm not entirely too sure why. So Lash mechs, they are fairly good, and there is like a good like terrain here to make good use out of them. Like my tanks will not go anywhere near Lash's mechs. No way. But mechs take forever. Because the infantry will, yes, the infantry will get here on the same turn, but the infantry will also go in this city the very next turn. Meanwhile, This mech will only go right here. So, I would have... I honestly God would have had that as an infantry. I would have kept the other 2,000. And this tank is going on here. Very good. Because this right now is a combat level tank. God dang it. I do not want to mess with this tank at all. I do, however, want to mess with that infantry. And these two are my cities. I'm going to go ahead and bully Mag here. And I'm going to... And since he brought his tank over here, which is good, that is a good thing, because this is supposed to be my weak side. You want to make your opponent fight on their weak side. However, this is what I was saying about the little trap that I had in the beginning. I typically fight on the weak side. Why, you might ask? I don't know. But it seems to work on lower levels, and I don't get why. It might have something to do with the income. So there's not a whole lot of cities here. And if there's... Because I can tell you right now, this is going to be reinforced with a tank. Yep, tank and 2 infantry. So, if it keeps going the way it does, these 2 bases, when they produce infantry, will overpower this one base if it keeps producing infantry. Like, that's a number, that's just statistically correct. So, and a lot of lower level players, or people that never played this map, will actually fall into that. And I don't know why I had so much success with that. But he is shifting 2 of his tanks over to the right, bumping up the infantry, which, good. Very good on him. However, he left this tank all alone. And considering that I have my comm tower, I don't really care if that's combat level tank. And I'm just going to shield this tank right here. So now he is an entire tank down, and his tank over here is crippled. And Mac, his response is an anti-air. This mech didn't get to do anything except fire on infantry, which it would have to kill 3 infantry to earn itself in. Because my tank is not going to go anywhere near it. Like, recons on planes can outrun a mech. Not zombies, but it can outrun anyone else's mech. And this was a very good, that was a very good engagement. Lash anything on mountains. And he does trap my units up here, but this base is out of reach to actually do anything against it. So yes, this was good, but this tank can't get there in time. It can only go right here. And my tanks are sadly for him, not on these 2 properties. That tank isn't going to do anything. I have plenty of time to get my tanks out, and I do with this infantry. And that's when I start harassing over here. And this tank is taken out. Meanwhile, I have killed quite a bit of tanks. I've killed 3 tanks, I believe. And a 4th one is crippled. Meanwhile, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 tanks. This one might actually be his 4th one. I have killed 2 tanks and crippled his 3rd. Meanwhile, 3 of my tanks are completely fine, and 1 of them is just at half health. And I have also, and I lost a coin flip there. And I have also not let, I've also not let Mag get these cities at all. And then in comes the battlecopter. And I've had turbocharge for a while, but there's not a good use for it. And considering that there's nothing to back up this anti-air is forced to retreat. So it wasn't a good purchase to get that anti-air. Because anti-air by itself can't deal with tanks. It can harass tanks, it can get them down to 6, 7 HP, a little bit with Lash, it depends on where she's at. It can get them down to 5 at most. And that's pretty freaking good for an anti-air, but it'll take heavy damage in return. Actually, let's see. And I'm just going to say on planes. So 2, and then on city, 31 to 39. So 7 HP, but luck damage, small chance to, I don't even know if that even has a chance to do 4 damage. Maybe there's a 1 in a million chance, if I'm reading that right. Because I had been able to do more damage than what it says before. But that mech is gone. The mech didn't really get to do anything. And this mech is out of place. I do not like the mech play. I'll be completely honest. I really don't like it. Battlecopter is going to be coming, and he resigned. Yeah, this was a very quick game. There's not. So let's go by turn-by-turn analysis. Since this game was so short, I'm going to do a turn-by-turn analysis. So turn 1. Turn 1, he did good. He moved his infantry over here, so the next turn he can go and capture his base. Good. Turn 2. He starts getting that base, and the 2 cities surrounding everywhere. Good. Turn 3. He captures the 2 cities and the first base, which is also good. And he brings this infantry like down south, along with this, which is also good. Turn 4, he did in fact do the correct thing. You want, so how do I explain this? Since it takes a single turn for everyone's infantry except Sturm, we're not counting Sturm. Since it takes a Sturm capture is completely different than everyone else's capture. Sturm is exempt from this lesson, but it takes 1 turn to get to that plane tile. Like right here. That's turn 1. Turn 2. If there is any city within a contested area, nab it. Like, that next turn, that infantry should be capturing something. If it's down in the contested area, get it right then and there. And have your follow-up infantry go ahead and get that property instead. So, this infantry... personally, I am playing as Jess, so this might be a little bit biased. Personally, I would have gone and gotten the Calm Tower. But this infantry, when it moves up, can get the Calm Tower next turn when this city is captured. So that one I think is fine. However, this infantry right here, it should not have crossed the river. Why? It should have gone right here because this city, just because of this city. If it goes right here, it would be 1, 2, 3, and if it goes over here, it's 1, 2. That is what that infantry should have done. And then I'm going to harp on it one more time. Never build a tank if you can't back it up with another tank. Wait a turn. Like when you only have 6,000 income, don't build a tank. Hang on to your funds, and then start building your vehicles. Captures that city, good. Captures that city, good. So, this infantry. Yes, there is a tank down here. However, you are Lash. And 1, 2. And considering, well, actually, no. I do somewhat agree with this. Because I would have immediately gone over here on the mountains and then followed up with this one. So I do agree with this infantry here. Fire it, get this one crippled out of the way, and hopefully kill it. And in fact, was that a bad luck roll? No, it was actually a very good luck roll. Okay. So... Actually, no. Have this infantry move into the mountain, block me from having access, move this infantry up, and knock out that, and knock this infantry out. Because you saw what that engagement was before. I took 3, but I took 4 damage in return. I lost that interaction. This go to mountain, this come here, finish off this infantry. Because if I want to do that thing again, I'll be sacking another infantry. This infantry from me was bad. This infantry should die because of that. Because a full health Lash infantry can and will knock that one out. So that infantry going over there, good. Yeah, so, and since this infantry would have gone over here and knocked this one out, this city will be left alone at that point, and this infantry will be the one to pick up this one slack. And so this infantry right here, this infantry should have either crept up a little bit, or it should have gone over here. Well, no, this infantry needs to go over here and start capturing this city, because this city should be captured in this turn now. Because this one was last turn. This infantry should be going down here and capturing this comm tower. This one should be creeping up a little bit, staying out of my range. Because you can't get to this city. And if you put your infantry here, I'm going to fire upon it. Because that is an interaction I will win. And 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. I won't say anything about the tank placement because it is in the middle, and you want your tank to be within the middle. You want to have it threatening both sides, which is good. And the mech. There's no reason to buy this mech. I'm going to say it. On this map, mechs definitely get a jump up. Mechs definitely become good. And Lash, she can utilize mechs in a few areas. Like this mountain surrounded by 2 cities. That is a good area to use mechs. Because if they get off the mountain, hey, that's still a 60% firepower for Prime Tactics. That's good. It's still a combat level mech. I just don't agree with the mech purchase at all right now. Because I think on this map, Adder utilizes mechs better than Lash. And Adder is actually tier 3 on this map. He jumps up a tier. You do not get to play as Adder in tier 4. Like on this map. Like Adder is super freaking good on this map. Because his abilities are all movement based. And considering how teeny tiny this map is, yeah. Adder gets to jump up a tier. And that leaves Jess and Cole as the leading champs for tier 4 on this map. Maybe Jake, but mostly Jess. So I would prefer to see this as infantry, because you would have had 3k in the bank right now. Alright, next turn. You capture this city, and you capture that city, and you start capturing this city. I would prefer this infantry to go into the mountains. You capture this and bring these 2 infantry forward. That is what I would prefer to do. Not capturing that city. Because this city is within range of my tank. And yes, I'm going to... And if this tank hadn't come over here and blocked this city, I would have absolutely used my tank to get that one off of the off of the city. And this right here, if you see an infantry or a mech, like, with one gap in between its position and a mountain, don't. Like, and depending on if it's an infantry or a mech, don't put anything right beside the mountain. So the tank, you can get away with right now because it's not a mech. But this infantry, I don't like that placement. I really do not like this placement. This one you can get away with because I'm nowhere near it. But this infantry, I do have one that can go onto this mountain and fire upon it. And I will have 40% defense on it. And yes, you have 120% firepower, but I'm about to have normal firepower on my infantry next turn. And if it wasn't for you capturing the city, I would have fired upon that infantry, and it would have been a lot more damage than you would have thought. Yeah, it would have been 50. It would have been 50. This would have been knocked down to 5. Okay, next turn. You use the tank to deal with that infantry. I don't like that because you're keeping that tank there, and you're basically inviting Jess to come in and smash this tank, which normally she wouldn't be able to do that, but with a comm tower she can. You're inviting me to come and fortify that position. And this infantry should have came in and attacked this infantry, because this is a 30% firepower increase. So that infantry would have had 140%. That would have been a sensei level infantry, and it would have hurt a lot. So that infantry would have been crippled. But no, instead you decide to go ahead and that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And this tank wouldn't have been able to wrap around anyway. So very, very passive on that infantry. And you do come in. You do come in and help this tank out with the other one, which that's good. I won't say anything about where you're purchasing your tank on this one, because I do have tanks on both sides. I do. But this mech isn't going to do anything about it. It's not. That mech is too slow to catch up to a tank. So, and I'm going to park once more on the mech here in a few turns when you purchase that one. But since this city is like open, that's 30% defense. I'm going to park my tank on it. And there's a free infantry here. I'm also going to fire upon it. And like I said, free mountain spot right here. And I'm going to go ahead and do that. So imagine if you had one of your infantry on here instead, like a few turns back, and the last turn you brought that infantry down here. You would have been holding both of these cities from me at that point, because these are my cities. Yes, they are the contested ones, but they are on my side of the map. You would have been holding both of those hostage, and eventually might have actually gotten those cities. Alright. Turn 8, Mag. And he gets to airport, finally. I haven't been paying attention to capture phases. I'll be completely honest. But I'm comparing my capture phase to up north. I'm seeing that I captured my airport a long time ago, and I'm capturing this city. Meanwhile, neither of these two have been captured. So I'm wondering just what happened on that one. I'm paying too much attention on the battle at this point. Because this is the important part right now. And this one was a ballsy capture. This one was very, very ballsy. This one's clearly on my side. And you haven't even finished capturing your side of the properties yet. Capture your properties first, before anything. Anti-air. Why are you buying anti-air? There's no reason for the anti-air purchase. Not at all. Anti-air is not going to deal with tanks. They can pick off tanks, but a full health tank, the anti-air is going to take more in retaliation than what it dealt to them. It's not going to go even. It's going to take more. Even if it was on a city. And if I was on a road. Yeah, it would have been the same if it was on a city, but on the forest, yeah, you're going to take more of a retaliation. Plains, then road, yeah, no. I do not like this purchase at all. If you're going even on tank, then it better be in a tank, and then it better be as from a tank or a mech. It should not be from an anti-air. Anti-air is for infantry, mechs, recons, and battlecopters. It can pick off tanks. It's not going to pick off anything else. It can pick off a 1 HP medium tank and neo tank. Don't try it against a mega tank. But that is what anti-air is for. That was a bad purchase. The mech made it to the mountain, but it hasn't been able to do anything. And already this mech can't cover as much as you would want it to. And this mech is just directly like in front of 2 infantry. So these 2 infantry from me is going to be able to deal with that mech, even if it is on a mountain. And mechs do hit harder than infantry do. Not by much, but they still do. Wait on the anti-air until I build a battlecopter. This isn't fog. You're going to know when I build a battlecopter. Wait until then, because battlecopters, they cost 9k. Anti-air, they cost 8. Already, you are winning, like that engagement. It's not until my battlecopter does something to many other things that is earn itself in, and it's not until your anti-air brings down my battlecopter and immediately earns itself in, plus a little bit more. And when it's chasing down that battlecopter, it's zoning it out. That battlecopter's not going to go in for 1 hit on a tank just for it to die the next turn. And that anti-air, like, it can go and harass other infantry. It can one-shot infantry, even. So there is use for that, but that anti-air would have been so much better if it was a tank. Because it's just these 2 tanks. Meanwhile, I have 4 tanks. You want to try to keep your tank count even with your opponent. Especially if they're a CO that specializes in tanks. Lash can get away with going head-to-head against Jess in a tank brawl, but on this map, that's not going to happen very often. Especially when you have something like this happening. Because now it's 4 tanks to 2. Oh, that's what I wanted to talk about. Okay, so this tank right here. This was a very, very risky play. And as you saw, this tank went in and got it. But with this tank being positioned here, this infantry can go here, this infantry can go here, and this infantry can go here. And I have another infantry here that can reinforce one of these other 2. It would have trapped that tank. You have, if you wanted to get this tank out, you have to use this tank to fire on the infantry that would go here. Here, 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 and then here, and then what was the thing? 4 to 8. So that is 4, and then 8. This infantry cannot get over here. You have to use this tank in order to make this one escape. And even if you don't, if you decide to go and attack this tank, you're not getting any bonus. Meanwhile, this is going to be 110% firepower because of the comm tower. This is going to be 120. And yes, it's a full health going up against an 8, but I'm still winning this interaction because I'm still trapping this tank. Meanwhile, these 2 tanks, they already dealt with this one up here. So, and considering that this tank has to go over here, I have 1 on this side, just from the interaction that happened in the middle. Whereas instead, this would have been a tank, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it would have been able to reach it. Lash doesn't get any movement-based powers, but at the very least, this tank would have been able to go over here and punish me for going after this tank. And once again, it's not going to get a bonus, but you're still firing upon one of my tanks. You're not just leaving them open like that. So I didn't do that. That's something I should have done. But, oh well. Okay, you do trap the tanks, which is good. My only complaint is that you use the 2 HP here when you could have... Yeah, so you should have used the full HP tank, the full HP, the full HP infantry over here instead of the 2 HP. And then move this infantry down here. Hang on. So this is how this should have gone. This one should have gone over here. And not fired on this one. You wanted to wait. This one should have gone over here. This should have gone over here. This should have gone right here. And this one... Actually... That one was fine right there. This is considered a trap. And this is a good one. Because this 2 HP infantry isn't here. To a point where this infantry can knock... and save these 2 tanks. Nor can this tank go and get through this infantry. Because the infantry I do have readily available cannot break through this one. And since this 2 HP infantry is here, it's not going to be able. I'm not going to be able to get a mountain bonus either. The most I would have been able to do is knock this one out with the infantry. Or knock this one out with the 5 HP. Have this go around over here. Knock this out. And then get on the mountain and go over here. Meanwhile, the wall remains untouched. That is the most I would have been able to do over here. Editor Lucas here. So, this 5 HP infantry can actually go and knock out this infantry that's on the mountains. And the 9 HP infantry can wrap around and attack this infantry. And the tank down on the south can go park on the city and finish off the infantry. And that would have allowed the tanks to go ahead and escape. So no matter what, those tanks would have been able to escape. Yep. And then this tank should have gone over here and punished. That is what that tank should have done. Because you are within striking distance of the tank from the base now. You never want to be within striking distance when you are not ahead. Because you are heavily overextending at that point. And mech, god, no. Stop building mechs. The mechs are not doing anything. Because all that is over here right now is infantry. You want to match infantry with infantry if you're having brawls over on the other 2 sides. Like the over 2 fronts. You don't want to match it with mechs. Okay, now. Hopefully this infantry is going to get this one, which the infantry that first spawned from this base should have gotten it a long time ago. Because no matter what, it's going to take 2 turns to get either this property or this property, but an infantry from here should be the one getting this property. This base should be getting these 4 properties for sure. This base should be getting these 2 properties. And this base should be getting these 4, like, and these 4 properties. Right, no matter what. Sorry, these 3 properties. Sorry. Yeah, so this one gets these 2 properties, and this one gets these 3 properties. And then, and also these 2 properties for this base as well. Because these are technically yours as well. And then this base and this base works together to get these 2. That is how, like, for all the bases on your side, that is how the capture phase should be working on this map. Yep, and there's nothing that tank can do. And this anti-air hasn't done a single thing this entire game. Bad purchase. Like, I'm just going to bluntly say it, that's a bad purchase. And Battlecopter. That one was actually a good purchase. Like, Lash doesn't get anything for Battlecopters, but they're still normal Battlecopters. Like, she doesn't get any negative, like, thing tacked onto them. They don't get terrain stars, but Battlecopters are still very good. Never hesitate on building Battlecopters as Lash, even if you are a bit stingy on it. Yep, and then it's just like before. This mech can't do anything. That is 6,000k wasted on mechs now. That is almost a full tank. I'm capturing 1, 2, 3 properties next round. Yep. So maybe I went a little too overboard on the analysis, but since this map, or since this match was very short compared to most other ones, I feel like this would have made it a bit more interesting to watch. Just complete overview on this match. Just as a seasoned veteran, she has to teach Lash something. That's me. It's making me sound like I'm teaching loaded mag over here, and I am not at all trying to be a teacher-student-esque thing. But I do actually have one more game with loaded mag. I'm debating on putting it in the same video because I went ahead and did this. I might end up making this a separate video because I went and done this. Yep, I'm going to do that.